When people hear the word compounding, their minds often jump to strange math problems, interest rates, or technical financial jargon. But compounding is much more than that. It's not just a formula or a slowly rising chart. It's a journey, a psychological battle, and a true emotional roller coaster. It's about waking up every day to keep doing the small, often invisible things that don't seem important in the moment, but build a mountain of success over time. It's not just about money. It's about discipline, sacrifice, faith, and staying in the game long enough to see your efforts come to life. Most people quit before compounding begins. Not because they didn't work hard, but because they didn't see results fast enough. They gave up during a phase when they needed to believe the most. And that's why breaking down the stages of compounding is essential. Because if you know what to expect, you're less likely to give up when the results haven't yet caught up with your effort. Step 1. Phase 0. Compounding is misunderstood, not because it's complex, but because it works slowly. In a world obsessed with speed and overnight success, compounding doesn't shout, it whispers. And because of that, it's often overlooked, questioned, or abandoned too early. But don't be mistaken. Compounding is the most powerful force for building wealth. And if you learn to sustain it long enough, it will make you richer than in your wildest dreams. The problem is, most people never make it past step 1. That's where the majority quit. You started saving. You're investing. You cut down on unnecessary expenses. You're consistent. Maybe it's been 6 months. Maybe it's been 2 years. And still, your investments aren't moving. It's like watching paint dry. $0 becomes $50, and it feels like an insult. You check the markets every day. You check your balance. You wonder why all this effort feels pointless. This phase is suffocating. You've done everything right, but the rewards seem non-existent. Friends around you are showing off new cars, going on trips, or buying things you chose to sacrifice. Social media doesn't help at all. You feel like the only fool playing the long game, while everyone else is having fun with their money. This is the phase that tests your faith. Not faith in numbers, but faith in the mind. Compounding, by nature, starts slowly. The first few years are meant to frustrate you. They're designed to weed out the impatient. They're there to see if you deserve the reward in the end. Most people can't handle this. But if you stay consistent, the ground begins to shift. Step 2, the spark phase. Then one day, something clicks. You check your investment portfolio, and you notice that the gains are slightly higher than what you contributed. You receive your first dividend. A side hustle you started pays you for the first time. Your emergency fund reaches an amount that lets you breathe a little easier. These are your first tailwinds. Small but meaningful. This is the phase where the reward engine starts to warm up. It's like the first time you lose a kilo after weeks on a diet. It's not a huge deal, but it proves that your actions are making an impact. The spark phase is when the reward gives you your first glimpse of its power. And that glimpse is addictive. This stage is deeply emotional. Not because you made a lot of money, but because you finally feel acknowledged. You start learning more, because now it matters more. The effort you've made, the sacrifices you took, the nights you chose to work on your budget instead of going out, they start to make sense. You finally believe that it's working, and that belief changes everything. This stage triggers an internal shift. It's where discipline becomes a habit, where you no longer need to see results every day, where you stop checking the charts constantly. It's no longer about instant gratification. It's about the process. You learn to trust time. And for many people, that's a brand new skill. The hardest part of stage 2 is keeping your ego in check. Because as soon as you start making progress, you might be tempted to upgrade your lifestyle too quickly. You might feel like you deserve to treat yourself. And while there's nothing wrong with enjoying your money, this is where many people go off track. They think that this breakthrough is the peak, but they have no idea what's coming next. Stage 3, the momentum phase. This stage is when your financial breakthrough begins to amplify. Your investments no longer grow just because of your contributions, but also because of the returns from your previous gains. Your money is now making money. You're no longer just saving. You're growing. Maybe you paid off a high-interest debt, maxed out a retirement account, or invested in an asset that's gaining value. This is a momentum phase, And it feels exactly like that. The wind is finally at your back. You feel like you've cracked the code. The stage is euphoric. You go from someone who doubted compounding to its biggest evangelist. Your friends are still struggling paycheck to paycheck. But you can see the other side. You're not rich yet, but you feel like you're getting closer every day. Your relationship with money shifts from survival to strategy, and you begin to think about money differently. This phase is about identity. You stop chasing quick wins and start thinking in decades. You realize just how powerful you are, not because you got lucky, but because you stayed disciplined through phase 0. This is the phase that creates pride, not arrogant pride, but the kind that says, I built this myself. You start to see yourself differently because your mindset is changing. You've stepped into something that 99% of people will never stay in long enough to experience. However, momentum doesn't mean invincibility. Markets still fluctuate. Life still happens. But the difference now is that you're prepared. And you deeply know that the only direction is forward. Stage 4, the snowball phase. This is where the game changes forever. You've crossed the threshold, and compounding no longer depends on you. Your investments and assets now generate more income than your job. You're earning money while you sleep, while you rest, while you travel, while you do absolutely nothing. You are financially free, or very close to it. You no longer work because you have to. You work because you want to. This is where compounding becomes inevitable. Your money keeps growing, even when you take a break. Your money is working harder than you. At this point, it has officially replaced your job. You've crossed the threshold most people only dream of, true financial independence. It's overwhelming. You remember the days when you were barely making it, when you gave up small pleasures, when you struggled each month just to stay consistent. And today, you're living the fruits of those decisions. This is when people start asking you for advice, because your results have become visible. The same people who questioned you are now asking for your recommendations. The same friends or family members who once thought you were crazy now respect your discipline. But what's hardest at this stage is freedom. You wake up and you no longer have to work. You can if you want to, but you're not obligated anymore. Time becomes your most precious currency. You can think about legacy, impact, and lifestyle. You can spend more time with your family, travel more, and say no more often. Now you have power, the kind that comes only from financial freedom. Not power over others, but power over your own life. And that changes everything. This phase brings peace. It gives you the rarest form of success. Quiet success. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You know you won a game that most people don't even understand. And that's where gratitude is born. You think back to the earlier phases, the sacrifices, the late nights, the awkward budget meetings, the moments you wanted to give up, and you're grateful you didn't. This phase makes every ounce of delayed gratification feel fully justified. It validates your entire journey. Stage 5, the legacy phase. This is the highest form of compounding, the moment when your wealth is no longer just for you. It's for the generations to come. Your investments, your skills, your knowledge are now being passed down. You realize your wealth will outlive you. The money that once served as a tool to escape the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle has now become a vehicle for impact. Your investments can now fund generations, pay for your children's education, and keep your family out of debt forever. Your children don't start from zero. They start where you left off, but with knowledge added. This is a legacy phase. It's not about ego, it's about purpose. You begin to see money not just as security, but as meaning. You reflect on the entire journey, the cycle you broke, the discipline and patience that built something bigger than yourself. You pass down wisdom, instill principles. You lived well, and you're leaving something better behind. This phase changes how you see time, life, and what really matters. Because money is only the destination. The real reward is the person you became to get here. The person who lived through phase 1, who trusted phase 2, who stayed disciplined through phase 3, who tasted freedom in phase 4, and who, in phase 5, no longer lives just for themselves, but for generational financial freedom. At this point, you become the ultimate version of wealth, the calm, patient, and intentional builder. The reward is no longer just a financial concept. It's a life philosophy. Stay in the game long enough, and it will reward you more than you can ever imagine. Quit too early, and you'll never know how close you really were. So keep going. Stay the course. Believe in yours, even if it hasn't broken the ground yet.